It was the first presidential debate between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. Highly anticipated, widely watched, and being closely analyzed and dissected even as we speak. Democrat Kamala Harris and Republican Donald Trump met on Tuesday night in Philadelphia for their first and perhaps only debate, a contest that could have a significant impact on the 5th November election. There were plenty of personal attacks and verbal punches thrown during the fierce 90-minute debate. Harris said people leave Trump rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. Trump said people don't go to Harris's rallies in the first place. Trump criticized Harris's record on immigration and the border and her shifting policy positions. Harris blamed him for what she termed Trump abortion bans and the 6 January attacks on the US Capitol. However, the common refrain following the debate seems to be that Kamala Harris successfully managed to bait Donald Trump at regular intervals, and every single time Trump bit the bait, went off message, and ended up looking rattled, flustered, and defensive. The vice president had prepared extensively for the debate and peppered almost every answer with a comment that was designed to enrage the former president. She told Trump that world leaders were laughing at him and military leaders called him a disgrace. She called Trump weak and wrong. She said Trump was fired by 81 million voters. Clearly, he's having a very difficult time processing that, she said, among her many jibes. Trump seemed to lose the plot, repeating many falsehoods and untruths. He repeated lies about widespread fraud in the 2020 election. He parroted a conspiracy theory about immigrants eating cats and dogs and lied about Democrats supporting abortions and babies after babies are born, which is murder and illegal everywhere. The moderator had to fact-check Trump, saying there is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it is born. Trump painted a dire picture of the United States, reminiscent of the American carnage that he had warned of when he was inaugurated in 2017. We have a nation that's dying, Trump said. Now, according to the US media and most analysts, the Democratic presidential nominee won the debate hands down, leaving her Republican rival looking tired, jaded, flustered, and sounding defensive and unsure. As the debate ended, Harris got another massive boost, perhaps the biggest celebrity endorsement that she could have hoped for. Singer and pop culture icon Taylor Swift posted on Instagram that she was backing the Democratic ticket. She signed her post, "Taylor Swift, Childless Cat Lady," a reference to controversial comments by Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance, that have alienated many women in America. Let's take a look at American media's assessment of the debate and the two candidates' performance. Most media outlets gave the edge to Harris. In sharp contrast to President Joe Biden's performance during his July debate, Vice President Kamala Harris appeared confident, focused, poised, and armed with strong and cogent arguments. ABC News, which hosted the debate, fact-checked Trump's many falsehoods and conspiracy theories, something that he is known to often resort to. He was put on the defensive early on in the debate as Harris wasted no time in attacking Trump. Politico declared Kamala Harris the winner of the debate and said it wasn't even a close contest. She repeatedly baited him and knocked him off balance, according to the outlet. The New York Times said Harris owned much of the night as she used her skills as prosecutor to put Trump on the defensive. Vice President Harris was widely expected to defend the Biden administration, but according to the New York Times, the Republican was left defending his own record as president rather than picking on hers. The New York Times goes on to say Trump looked miserable, resorting to crowd sizes and conspiracies which captured his difficult night, while Harris was well prepared in leading him astray. The Washington Post said Trump often strayed from facts and resorted to debunked theories about the 2020 presidential polls, which he lost, and on the issue of immigration. Harris called out Trump's Same old tired playbook, a bunch of lies, grievances and name-calling, as she put it, declaring that her Republican rival has no plan for the people and that he's more interested in defending himself. The Washington Post also said Harris was able to deliver her case against Trump in a way that Biden struggled to do in July. She was ready with retorts to most of Trump's charges, it added. CNN said Trump took every bait that Harris used to throw him off his game. The vice president was well prepared and her every retort was designed to enrage Trump, who was often out of control. The channel went on to say that Trump nearly choked on Harris's baits and pointed out that he went on a bizarre spell insisting that migrants eat Americans' pets. Fox News tried a balancing act but focused on Trump having to spar with ABC's debate moderators for fact-checking him. Snap polls suggest Harris won the debate, but Trump said afterwards she had lost badly. Latest polls suggest Harris and Trump are neck and neck, with the Democrat maintaining a marginal lead over her Republican rival, but in key battleground states, it's still quite close. Therefore, the November election is still expected to be a tight race. In a CNN poll of 600 registered voters who watched the debate, 63% said Harris was the better performer, while only 37% went with Trump. Prior to the debate, the same voters were evenly split on who they thought would perform better. But significantly, only 4% said the debate actually changed their minds about who they might vote for. Let's now look at some of the key takeaways from the heated debate. Many expected the event to serve as Vice President Kamala Harris's introduction to American voters, and the Trump campaign had promised that the former president would use his time on stage to define his opponent as out of touch and extreme, particularly on issues like immigration and the economy. But according to most analysts, Harris was able to repeatedly bait and trap Trump on his past policies and rhetoric in a way that seemed to fluster the former president. The debate began with a handshake at the initiation of Kamala Harris, but soon the gloves were off. In the fiery 90 minutes that followed, Harris frequently rattled the former president with personal attacks that threw him off message and raised the temperature of the highly anticipated contest. Her pointed digs on the size of his rally crowds, his conduct during the Capitol Hill riots, and on the officials who served in his administration and who have since become outspoken critics of his campaign, repeatedly left Trump on the back foot. Harris managed to keep goading her Republican rival into making extended defenses of his past conduct and comments. Trump seemed to play right into her hands, raising his voice at times and shaking his head. When quizzed about immigration, Harris said Americans should go to a Trump rally because they are illuminating. People start leaving the rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom, she said. That bob clearly rattled the former president, as he then spent most of the answer on a topic that should have been one of his core areas of strength, defending his rally sizes and belittling hers. At one point, Trump evoked chuckles from Harris when he stated a bizarre and debunked theory that Haitian immigrants in the town of Springfield in Ohio were abducting and eating their neighbors' cats and dogs. Trump stated, and I quote, "They're eating the dogs. The people that came in, they're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people who live there." Harris looked on as though she was puzzled and amused. That moment is among the most viral video clips from the debate, one that has generated 1 million memes already. Deftly deflecting attacks on the economy, inflation and immigration, weak points for the Biden-Harris administration, the vice president shifted the debate to other issues such as Trump's proposed across-the-board tariffs, which she labeled as Trump's sales tax, and then brought up Project 2025, the controversial independent conservative plan for a future Republican administration. Trump distanced himself from the project and defended his tariff plan, but it kept him from hammering the vice president on inflation and consumer prices, something he would have otherwise hoped to do. Harris responded to Trump's attacks on her identity, but instead of defending her racial identity, she laid out the former president's history of past racial discrimination and racist behavior. On abortion, Trump defended his handling of the issue, saying Americans across the spectrum wanted Roe v. Wade abortion protections overturned by the Supreme Court. Well, the claim is clearly not backed by opinion polls. He struggled to make his position clear and ended up rambling. Harris, for her part, made an impassioned appeal to families who faced severe pregnancy complications and been unable to receive abortion care in states that have banned the procedure. She referred to them as states with Trump abortion bans. She said it's insulting to the women of America. A calibrated message on an issue over which she already has a double-digit advantage over Trump. Harris kept putting Trump on the defensive, with one barb after another, including one where she said she did not take handouts from her wealthy father. Every time, Trump rose to the bait. Casting herself as a middle-class kid, Harris told American voters, Trump has no plan for you because he's more interested in defending himself than he is in looking out for you. On the Afghanistan withdrawal, another weak point for Harris, the vice president shifted the conversation to Trump's negotiations with Taliban officials and inviting them to Camp David. This pattern played out over and over and proved quite effective. Whenever her opponent was talking, Harris wore a studied look of bemusement or incredulity. Trump, for his part, mostly scowled. Republicans are busy complaining about the debate moderators, accusing them of favoritism towards Harris because they pushed back and fact-checked claims made by Trump on several occasions. Here's what one media report said describing Trump's performance during the debate. When the vice president mentioned Trump's criminal conviction and outstanding legal issues, he bit. When she called him out for sinking a bipartisan immigration bill, he bit harder. And when Harris suggested that Trump's rallies were boring, he nearly choked on the bait. On global affairs, however, especially on the issue of whether they had a roadmap for ending the Israel-Hamas war in Gaza and the Russia-Ukraine conflict, neither candidate managed to give a very convincing answer. However, accusing Trump of admiring dictators, Harris said, if you were to become president again, Putin would be sitting in Kiev with his eyes on the rest of Europe. You would quickly give up for the sake of favor and what you think is a friendship with someone who's known to be a dictator who would eat you for lunch. Up until now, the Harris campaign had been coy about whether she would agree to another debate. Almost immediately after the Tuesday night debate ended, they called for a second presidential debate before November, a clear indication of how well the Democrats think the night went for Kamala Harris.